from WBBZ-TV Sports. It's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
It's week 3 at Transit Lanes, and welcome to Beat the Champ. My name is Paul Peck, joined by Hall of Fame bowler Sue Novoitsky, along with Janelle Sabin. We have had outstanding bowling here through the first 2 weeks at Transit Lanes. Really high scores, really competitive matches. Are you expecting that to continue?
I am. It's the revenge of the Kearns bowlers. Some of the guys that were run over by Tyler are now trying to get their revenge and make their showing here.
Jeff Pullman is our returning champion. Among the challengers to face him today, Greg Voitovich, Pete Maduri, and Bob Senker. We'll see how those guys do, and as Sue mentioned, a couple of those guys lost last month. They're looking to come up with wins here. I know you've had a chance to talk to the huge Pullman contingent.
Yes.
You think they're ready for another week?
I think so, and if they're as supportive of Jeff as they were last week, I think Jeff has a great shot.
So that's our first match. It's Jeff Pullman and Greg Voitovich, so let's get rolling. And there's our first matchup. It's Jeff Pullman and Greg Voitovich to get week 3 here kicked off at Transit Lanes. Jeff Pullman coming off a victory 1 week ago, a solid 215 to 205 win over John Stobnicki. And that was Jeff Pullman's first victory on Beat the Champ. This is now his 5th different show appearance, and he's trying to get his first winning streak going, and let's see how it gets started. And the sticky 10 pin will stay up for the first frame here for Jeff Pullman. But that was a much needed relief, monkey off the back win for Jeff last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, finally. And he's been working really hard to keep making these shows. You figure eventually it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, and it has. And we are happy to welcome in once again for the second time in the last 3 weeks, our special guest, Jack Jurek is here. Jack, always good to see you.
Well, great to be back. One of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, well, we enjoy having you on, and obviously you are pretty closely tied here to Transit Lanes with the Bowler's Choice Pro Shop here, and just in general, you're the bowling expert here in Western New York. So we always like getting your perspective on things.
It's always fun to be a part of this.
And guess what? We get to preview next week because Jack's actually going to bowl on next week's show. So we're getting lots of Jack Jurek here, which is good.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's something I've always wanted to do, and it's great to finally get a chance to be on the show. Yeah, we'll talk a little more about getting Jack on the show because he's not eligible to be on the regular show because you're such a big shot, big shot pro. I'm not sure why they're scared of me.
Well, we're going to get you on next week. We'll talk about that in a moment, but at the very least, Greg Voitovich threw his first strike in frame number 1, and here goes Greg in frame 2. This is his 3rd show appearance, 2 wins and 1 loss. We have not seen Greg in over a year because his 2 wins, including 1 weekly trophy win, came in our very first show back in January of 2016 at Rapids Bowling Center in Niagara Falls.
Right, and he had made the show here when we did the special show here. So we had seen a lot of Greg in the first couple months, and I can't believe it's been an entire year.
Yeah. The exhibition show was exactly a year, and then a little more than that to when we had him at Rapids. So it's good to have Greg back, and Greg's one of the top bowlers in Western New York, and you've filled us in on that, and it's good to have him back on the show as well too. Bowled against Greg very much, Jack?
Oh yeah, we go a long way back. Early. I think he was just a little ahead of me in high school, but from there, travel leagues and stuff, we've always competed, summer sweepers. Known Greg a long time. It's been a great bowler for many years.
All you bowlers, everybody knows each other, which is what's great about the sport.
It is a
but I
tight-knit
mean, you
community.
guys all know each other, which is amazing.
Great shot there from Jeff. See the 2 guys playing them a little bit different. Jeff has a little more hand, a little more rev rate, going a little further in on the lane, sending it out. Greg, traditional down and in stroker. He does what he does as good as anybody in the city.
You got to look at our Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, manned as always by Janelle Sabin. Early scores from this one as we move to the 3rd frame.
Lane 11 is the one to watch. Lane 11's been giving people a little bit of fits. It's become a little wet dry.
Yeah, and there's
right on cue.
Right on cue.
No, it is the challenge, and then the one who figures that one out, and we'll see if Greg has a little better time on that because of his
well, he's
way
definitely
he
playing
attacks
much
the
more
lane.
to the right, but even Greg's shot, you could tell, seemed to have there's a little more friction on that lane for him too.
Jeff Pullman, as you saw, 43 years old from Clarence Center, full-time job as a financial advisor at AXA Advisors right here in Williamsville. Part of a bowling family, and there's a good contingent of the Pullmans here to cheer him on at Transit Lanes.
It's a great
nice
spare there.
pickup.
That is one you don't want to shoot too many times.
Yeah, that's no easy spare.
Is the challenge when you, on that one, like, which one do you hit? Where do you go?
Well,
do you get confused by all three of them staring at you?
The objective is always the same, but I think today with the amount of oil in the center part of the lane, the amount of dry to the outside part of the lane, and with as reactive as the balls are, it makes it so easy to take the 3-pin straight back or just the 3-6 straight back.
Nice, smooth, easy stroke by Greg Voitovich.
That is poetry in motion right there. Greg really does have he just flows. I mean, it's very smooth. There's nothing's changed about his game in 30 years that I've known him.
58 years old from Kenmore, sales rep for Rose Micro Solutions, and been bowling, like you said, for an awful long time. Been one of the top guys in town. Stays busy, bowls a couple of nights a week here at Transit Lane, so he certainly knows the conditions here. And Greg is one of our favorite guys that we've had a chance to get to know here on Beat the Champ. We like making fun of his shoes.
Yeah, Jack's lost out on at least 2 or 3 pairs of shoes over the years because he just won't change.
No,
Some
but
sales
I tell
out
you
the
what,
window there, Jack.
They're not the prettiest anymore.
Yes,
but
no.
What amazes me the most about him is that he's unaffected. I mean, you swear he's wearing new shoes the way he slides. I mean, there's never any stick, never any slip. It's amazing.
Well, and the story is that he's wearing the same shoes for like what last 25 years, right? Keeps patching them together.
I think he said those 30 years old. Those shoes are.
Yep. And we did get a chance to show you the shoes already, so you got to look at those less than beautiful looking bowling shoes for Greg. Meanwhile, you know, Jeff's stylish. He's a stylish guy. He's got the good looking shoes here, doesn't he?
The ball got a little inside, but held line.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
I am here with Greg Voitovich, one of our original stars of Beat the Champ. We haven't seen you in a while. What have you been up to?
Well, I work a lot out of town, and when the taping happens to be like on a Wednesday, that's the day I'm usually out of town, so I don't even bother trying out, because I'm not going to be here for the taping. This one just happened to fall when I'm in town. I tried out my home house, so when I made the show.
So I hear congratulations are in order.
Yes, they are. I got married. It'll be 5 weeks tomorrow. My lovely wife is here in the crowd somewhere, and I was dating her last time I was on the show, and we did get married on January 23rd.
Did you wear those bowling shoes for your wedding?
No, I did not. I actually had to dress up. I did dress up, so yes.
All right, well, congratulations and good luck today.
Thank you very much.
I usually try to stay more to the inside and try and find a way to use the oil part of the lane. A lot of times I'll move in on the approach, but I'll also move my target in. Usually I'll try and keep with a stronger ball so it'll roll in the oil, but I'll try and keep my target a little straighter in front of me and try and use that oil.
So you try to ride the oil line?
That's what I normally will try to do, yes. For me, with my ball roll and rotation, I tend to get a little more friction. And when I hit the friction, my ball tends to jump a little bit more. So I try and find a way to square up and use the oil line a little bit more.
Is that when you get a little bit more up the back of the ball and try to be a little...
Try to decrease my rotation a little bit.
Nice
Got
little
that
roll.
ball?
4 in a row. I got it. Yeah, I got it. That's 4 in a row. What I do know is there's 4 in a row strikes for Greg Voitovich.
Puts Greg in a good spot in this match.
Well, I was going to ask you, Jack, are there basic things that when you have to make adjustments, are there like 1 or 2 standard things no matter where you are, no matter when you are, no matter what's going on that you start with, or is it all different based on when you're bowling, where you're bowling, you know, who you're bowling?
I think there's usually there'll be some keys for me, but for the most part, you really have to try and stay open-minded because you know what works today isn't going to work tomorrow, and what works in Buffalo is not going to work in Vegas. So yeah, I mean, I try not to get myself too committed to just 1 or 2 adjustments. That's what one of the things when I'm practicing that I'll try and do is I'll really try to move around the lane a little bit more, play around with my release and rotations, try to learn to get a little bit more up the back of it sometimes, and learn to get left and try and get my ball to hook a little bit more on the back end. So that's what I do is I practice a lot to try and improve my versatility.
Well, it's a tight match, made even tighter by back-to-back strikes by Jeff Pullman here after Greg Voitovich was trying to start to pull away a little bit. So here we come right down the stretch with another close one.
Yeah, Jeff kept himself in the match with that one for sure. He's got a 230 maximum. Greg right now working on 229 pace. Strike here will give him a commanding situation.
Right.
This is the 9th frame for Greg Voitovich, working 4 in a row, making
Great
5.
shot.
All right. Put Greg in the 230s, so now we're just going to need a mark to close this game.
Early on, it might have looked like it was a disadvantage to have to finish on lane 11, but since he's figured it out, it actually worked out to be okay.
Yeah, in this case.
We have actually seen Greg's nephew Dana on our show since we've actually seen Greg on our show, and his nephew Dana, one of the outstanding young up-and-coming bowlers here in Western New York.
A two-hander.
Yeah, one of those two-handers that you're just going to see more and more of them, I think.
Matter of fact, Greg mentioned Dana would have been here to cheer him on, as he usually is, but Dana is competing in a tournament in New York State this weekend as we tape.
I think Greg got a little amped up on that shot, knowing he kind of can close him out, and just threw that one right through the break. But very fortunate to get just the 2-pin out of that and break up the 2-4-5.
Yeah, that 2-4-5 would have been a little bit more challenging of a spare, and anything could have happened.
Close out a match. But I like his chances here.
I like his chances here. He's a good spare maker. Right
Nice.
at it.
Yep, nice easy stroke. And a spare for Greg Voitovich. And one more to throw here in the 10th frame.
Going back to what you said about he got you into the conversation of how do you figure out where you're going to start, what you're going to throw, like going into a lane condition. Of course, you have a little practice session before you have to bowl a tournament on it, but how you practice your skills. Like, I think one of the ways that someone could relate to that would be to take every ball in their bag, every ball that they have when they go to practice, and not just try to strike with the best ball that's going to give them the maximum count, make the shot easier. When you practice, you should try to score the highest game you can with every ball in your bag. It's going to force you around the lane and make you make better shots, because not every ball is going to match up.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, when you're out practicing, I mean, a lot of times it's hard just to get practice time. So when you do get a chance to practice, you might as well be constructive with it.
Right.
And obviously one of the best, two of the best ways to go about that is using all your different balls that you have with you. And the other way to do it is to play different parts of the lane. You can try and you bowl from the first arrow, second arrow, bowl some from the third arrow, and even into the fourth arrow, just to try and get comfortable playing different parts of the lane. So to be able to move around on the lane and be able to switch some bowling balls, it's a great way to practice.
239 is in the books for Greg Voitovich. Jeff Pullman will roll out here in the 10th frame, but it's going to be Greg that will advance on, even though Jeff's putting up some strikes here to finish out. But Greg is going to move on to our next match against Pete Maduri. How many bowling balls do you bring with you to a PBA Senior Tour stop?
I will, when we start up in April, I'll probably start, I'll send 8 out to the tournament site, and
how many will you come home with?
Probably 24. At that level, at that place, bowling balls become a little bit more important. Senior Tour, probably not as much as the regular tour. Our scoring pace on the Senior Tour is a little bit higher than the regular tour, so I don't drill as many balls on the Senior Tour.
Right. Well, we've got a final. It's 239 to 230. Good finish for Jeff Pullman with 5 consecutive strikes, but not enough. As Greg Voitovich advances on to our next match, we'll talk to Jeff and preview match number 2 when Beat the Champ returns to Transit Lanes right after this. A 239 to 230 final score in this one as Greg Voitovich advances. You put a 230 up, Jeff Pullman. Not enough. A couple of frames here and there, right?
Right. That's what it's going to take now. The scoring, the lanes have opened up a little bit. Scoring's going to get a little bit higher, and You just have to go out there, throw strikes, and make your spares.
Right, well, congratulations on the win next week. We've seen you, I think, almost every month over the last 3 or 4, and I'm no doubt we're going to see you again next month.
Absolutely.
At least to make you feel a little better, Bill's got a little cash for you.
Congratulations. Nice job. Hope to see you again.
Thanks, Bill.
Jeff Pullman, again, we'll see plenty more of him, but we know we're going to see more of Greg Voitovich. Next match against he and Pete Maduri is coming your way next on Beat the Champ.
I'm here with Pete Maduri. This is the second month in a row we've seen you. Did you enjoy your Beat the Champ experience?
Wish I would have bowled a little better, but yeah, great run show, and we had a lot of fun. So hopefully we can do a little better today, win a match or two.
So you're here to redeem yourself.
I am. Yep, going to try to win a couple matches. Yep, got some tough competitors, but I think we got a pretty good look out there. We'll see what happens.
And I see a familiar face in the crowd. Your dad is here today.
Yeah, we got Mom, Dad, and a couple of friends, Bobby Vitagliano and Kevin Volker, rooting me on. So hopefully I don't mess up too bad.
All right, well, it's nice to see everybody, and good luck today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
Match number 2 of the day here at Transit Lanes. Our returning winner, Greg Voitovich, taking on Pete Maduri. So Voitovich will try to keep his string alive here with a couple in a row. And Greg now 3 wins and only 1 loss in his Beat the Champ show appearances. So Greg's starting to make a little noise here, you know, and move up and start adding those wins together.
I'm predicting a really good match here between these two.
And a opening throw for Greg that leaves the 10 pin, so he'll have to play for the spare here.
Yeah, that one stuttered a little bit.
Just a little bit. He got that one just a little more to the right. Just kind of labored coming back.
At Beat the Champ TV, hashtag Beat the Champ, and like us on the Facebook page for all of your information about Beat the Champ, upcoming events, upcoming shows, qualifying, everything you need to know, including all the details on our next stop at Lucky Lanes in Fredonia, available on our social media outlets. And here's our first look at Pete Maduri, but not our first Beat the Champ look because he's making his second consecutive monthly appearance. Pete appeared at last month's shows at the Kearns Avenue Bowling Center and wound up being one of the victims of Tyler Molina's 6 in a row stretch. But Pete's an interesting story, as we talked about last month, Sue. A really high-level bowler that maybe people don't know about because he had been out of town, living in Texas, and is now back in Western New York.
Yeah, Pete was definitely one of the outstanding high school bowlers when he was coming up through the high school ranks, and started bowling some of the sweeper stuff in the summer and the Masters. Pete's a very good young player, and the area missed him, definitely. I mean, some of the better bowlers probably didn't miss him because he was taking some more money. But,
absolutely.
Pete's always been a great bowler. He's the younger, more contemporary game.
Core group out of the Tonawandas, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes when you bowl out of a certain area, other areas don't see you. Like he was kind of sprung out of the Tonawanda area.
Absolutely.
29 years old is Pete Maduri from Tonawanda, as you mentioned.
Great spare
and he will
there.
pick up the 2-pin spare to start things off with spares for both guys. So Pete's a product manager at Dynabraid Incorporated after having moved back up here from San Antonio, Texas. I mentioned 29 years old. He has been bowling for 21 of those 29 years. Got a good cheering section on hand here today. His mom, Nancy, his dad, Pete, and his friends Bobby and Kevin are here cheering him on at Transit Lanes in his second Beat the Champ show appearance.
As for right now, Pete hasn't even committed to a league. He's just subbing around the area because he's just come back.
Yeah.
All right, so does that make him a coveted free agent then, Jack? Are we going to get a bidding war here for Pete's services?
I'm sure he'll have plenty of opportunities to bowl whatever he wants. I'm sure there's going to be more than one guy asking him to bowl a league next season.
Yeah, of course, right? If he starts racking up some Beat the Champ show wins, he'll have calls and offers from all over the place.
Absolutely.
Is there a little bit, I mean, all kidding aside, a guy sort of pops himself back into this town and everybody's looking for good bowlers to put on their team? Is there a little bit of the best, NFL free agent frenzy that I could equate it to?
I'm sure there'll be, he'll have some choices to make and what leagues to
Hey, Paul, you're giving me some ideas here.
I'll say, is all above board there? There's no there's no financial considerations that go into any of these decisions?
Well, I think the financial consideration is making the best team you
you're
can.
Not,
so
you're
that
not
you
sending
win.
a case of new bowling balls via FedEx over to Pete Maduri's house, Jack?
Well, since I haven't bowled any leagues in quite a while, you won't be getting any offers from me, but I'm sure there's going to be plenty of guys looking for them.
I mean, I know how competitive the sport is in this town, and I can't imagine that everybody doesn't want a good bowler like that on their team.
Oh, he'll have plenty of chances for sure. That's a nice little adjustment by Greg. I think Greg just kind of softened his speed just a little bit on that one, get the ball to finish a little higher in the pocket.
Greg's a lot of fun for us to watch, and we've talked about this on his other shows, appearances on the show. He is so consistent, so smooth, so smart, as Sue has pointed out, in making the adjustments that, it's a nice yin and the yang to sort of a big, powerful guy like Pete.
Definitely contrasting styles with these two for sure. You got Pete with the young, modern, contemporary game, high rev, high speed, more power. Greg is definitely there's quite the example of some power on display right there. But Greg is definitely a little old school, simple, down and in. Not too much is going to ever go wrong with his game. Greg's his biggest problem is always just finding a way to strike if the outside part of the lane breaks down and he's forced to move inside a little bit. I think his carry percentage sometimes changes. So that's usually Greg's only real big challenge.
Do you see, you're going to be facing Bill Schumann in the fourth week. Do you see a similarity between Bill Schumann's game and Greg Voitovich's game?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Greg's got a little more hand, a little more speed than Bill does, but they both are very similar as far as keeping the ball right on line in front of him, not really giving the pocket away very much.
We're going to be back with more Beat the Champ bowling action in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV. What's the next step in technology? Any idea?
Boy, nothing that I've heard in the pipeline.
GPS balls that you can target for the head pin?
It wouldn't surprise me at some point.
Drone balls.
Drone balls, right. How do you keep up on all of it?
It's not easy. It's not easy. Fortunately, I've got good connections with all the major companies, so if I have questions about anything, I can usually get some answers. That was a big shot by Greg. Give himself a chance in this match still. Down 18, but this shot here will be big. Strike here, cuts the lead to 8, and would force Pete to strike out in the 9th and 10th to shut him out.
Absolutely.
So this is a critical 9th frame throw here for Greg Voitovich in order to come up with a second consecutive win. Awaiting the winner of this match is Bob Senker to wrap up our 3-week stay here at Transit Lanes.
Good off his hand.
Great shot. That's a big strike.
And these are the moments. These are the moments why you become a bowler. I mean, for me as a kid, sitting in front of the TV watching the pros or watching Beat the Champ, you just imagine yourself. You're up on the lane. For me, it was always me being on the lane against Dick Weber, and just having a chance to get up in the 10th frame and put a match away. That's why we do it.
And don't forget, even though our qualifying for next month's trip to Fredonia and Lucky Lanes is complete, as we move forward, top qualifier at each month's stop is got an added bonus, and that they're going to win a $500 television set from Dirt Cheap TV as part of your, aside from being able to crown yourself the top qualifier in a particular bowling house, you'll get to win that TV as well too. So. And that's our next month's stop. In 2 weeks, we will be in Fredonia at Lucky Lanes.
Welcome to the sport of bowling, right, Jack?
Absolutely.
So Pete, you said, needed some strikes here to put Greg away, but that didn't happen in frame number 9.
Yeah, so now Greg, sitting on the bench, knows that he's going to get up in the 10th with some chance to win no matter what Pete does now.
Right, that's all anybody really wants, right?
You just want to have the ball in your hand.
You just want to have a chance.
So looking for the spare in the 9th frame. Pete Maduri gets it. Back-to-back spares.
This is where Pete needs to just collect his thoughts real quick. He knows 2 strikes now makes Greg throw 2 strikes in the 10th. So He's got to put those last couple shots behind him, really focus on just trying to put as much pressure on Greg as he can right now.
And you see what we look like heading to the 10th frame on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. It's going to all come down to this.
You know, I'm sure both these guys haven't been on Beat the Champ before and kind of know the ropes. Would love to have an opportunity to win taking on a guy who's, you know, not been out here before and not.
And here's where the strategy of Greg choosing to end on the better quote-unquote lane number 12 could be the difference in the match.
Absolutely.
See what Pete does. And how about that?
You could tell by his reaction there. He knows what he's got to do here.
So Pete Maduri, looking for his first Beat the Champ victory, has that possibility depending on how things go over the final 2 throws. You can see the focus and determination on Pete's face.
I expect this will be a good shot off his hand. For Pete, it's just going to be a matter of getting the 10-pin out.
Oh, he liked it. You could tell as soon as he threw it that he liked it.
Absolutely. Now again, fill ball becomes important. Fill ball gives him a 226. That would force Greg to get at least 246. Greg's got a possible 248, so that'd make a double and 9 if he gets a strike. So
that's assuming Pete strikes here.
That would be with a strike here. And I'd rather make a guy throw a double and 9 instead of a double and 8.
Right. We've seen a lot happen on this show when people needed a double in count.
And Pete Maduri's body language could say it better than I could.
I like the body language though.
Again, another just solid game. Just a matter of getting corner pins out.
It's been a great match against two guys that are like different in style, but
well, 245 might not win. How about that?
It's not the first time. It's a beauty of our sport. There's many.
So a double and 8 is what we're looking for Pete, for Greg to win.
Soft. Yeah, just a little soft on that one.
And disappointment on the face there of Greg Voitovich.
Made a good shot, gave the ball a chance to strike, just creeped in a little bit high, didn't get a little luck off the kickboard there to get the 4 out.
And a miss on the spare attempt, so that's tough. That's where you got to put you.
That's one where, in a different situation, he would have never missed.
Right. Yeah. So it's going to be a victory for Pete Maduri, his first here on Beat the Champ, 245 to 215. We'll get a chance to talk to Greg and get his thoughts on that match and preview our final match of the day, which is coming up at Transit Lanes. Jack's going to stick around and preview his match next week when we return. It's Beat the Champ at Transit Lanes. We're back right after this. .245 to 215 is our final score as Pete Maduri comes up with the win over Greg Voitovich. Couple of frames, as it always is, wound up catching you, didn't they?
It always is. I took a bad break in the 4th frame with the 9-pin, and you can't overcome pin breaks like that. I mean, against a good bowler like Pete, it's hard to overcome. You got to carry him when you can. It's just hard to overcome it when you're bowling such a good bowler.
What goes into your mind? You go into the 10th frame with a chance to win. What goes through a bowler's mind like that?
That's all everybody asked for, just a chance to win. I needed a double. I knew it. I said I just got to get the first one. Anything could happen on the second one, and I threw it just a little bit too slow. It jumped a little bit high.
Right. All right. Well, hopefully not another year before we see you back here.
Oh, no, I hope not. I'll try out as much as I can, but with the work schedule, it's tough. But as much as I can, yep.
All right, Bill, you got something for him?
Yeah, first and a second place. Not bad. Good job, Greg. Nice
you,
bowling today.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, it's always good to see Greg Voitovich, one of our favorites here on Beat the Champ. We got one more match to come. Bob Senker and Pete Maduri. That is next on Beat the Champ from Transit Lanes.
I'm here with Bob Senker, first appearance on Beat the Champ. What made you come up for qualifying here at Transit Lanes?
Oh, you know, I've been rolling the ball pretty well recently, and I figured I'd give it a try and see what happens. And here I am.
It was a little interesting way you got to the show. Tell us what happened.
Well, I qualified 10th overall, and I was the second replacement. And I was told that eventually, like, give him a text or a call and see what happens. And I texted him Saturday morning, and he said I'm on the show. So here I am.
So necessarily being in the top 8 or 9 doesn't matter because you got there a different way, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to try and take advantage of the situation and see where it goes from there.
All right, well, good luck today and have a great experience at Beat the Champ.
Thank you.
Final match of the day here at Transit Lanes. The challenger in green is Bob Senker, and our returning winner is Pete Maduri, coming off that victory over Greg Voitovich, looking for 2 in a row for Pete. Back-to-back monthly appearances, as we mentioned here on Beat the Champ. Lost at Kearns Avenue, but has already come up with a win here at Transit. So Pete will have to keep things rolling along against Bob Senker, who's making his Beat the Champ debut. So let's see what we get out of Pete Maduri. We've seen a lot of strength and power and a nice little level of finesse and touch there as well.
He does have a good combination of all of it.
And that was all power on that one, Jack.
Yes, it was.
Not a big, those pins flying.
Yeah, that was get out of my way, get out of my way pins. Here I come.
Not a big betting guy, but I think advantage goes to Pete right here.
So here's Bob Senker making his Beat the Champ show debut, the 29-year-old from Cheektowaga. Getting his first champ. Boy, talk about power. Look at the backswing and the approach on that one.
Yep, another one of those young speed and high rev players that you're going to see a lot more of today.
230 average for Senker. Been bowling for almost all of his life, about 25 of those 29 years.
That's a great spare.
And powers his way to a spare in the first frame. All right, so now in our next show, 1 week from tonight, or 1 week from today, our exhibition show is going to feature this guy. You are not eligible for the regular Beat the Champ, so we've created an exhibition show. You are going to battle Bill Truman. What are you thinking about going into this one?
I'm very thankful to get an opportunity.
Yeah, good.
I never got a chance to bowl the original Beat the Champ show when I was younger, so not being able to bowl the qualifiers at present time is a little, it's a little disappointing for me because this is, my area. I mean, I love the area. I love bowling. I love to be a part of stuff like this. So to get a chance to bowl next week is going to be fun.
Right. Well, if you want to retire from the senior PBA tour, you can then be eligible to qualify.
They'll still find a way to keep me out. They'll say, "Oh, you won 2 titles in the past, so you're done."
Well, that's going to be a lot of fun. So it's going to be Jack versus Bill Truman, who was our guest on our last show and is the lane manager here at Transit Lanes. That'll be in one match. And then we've got 2 outstanding female bowlers in Christina Zerbinski, and she is taking on the current Queens champion, Carrie Raxenberger. Give us a little scouting report on them, Sue.
No, both great girls in this area. I mean, but I'd say, Christina has a lot of experience nationally. It's hard to beat that. Carrie's a great bowler, and Carrie's very successful really everywhere she goes, and kudos to her for winning the Queens tournament. But what I see out of Christina is just a lot of experience.
Right. Yeah, I mean, she got most of the season in last year on the PWBA, so just a little. Anytime you get tested in those kind of environments, the experience you gain from those, it's priceless.
All right, now if you beat Bill Truman, when you beat Bill Truman, how's that?
I'm trying to decide if I should maybe negotiate something with my rent or something in this match.
That's right.
But I'd be afraid it would backfire.
That's right. So when you beat Bill Truman, you're going to go up against the winner of Carrie and Christina. So what's the dynamics going into that one? You got to be nice. You got to be nice to the ladies there too.
I'm 0-1 on TV against females, thanks to somebody.
I don't know who he's talking about.
Yeah.
Is there a story here that we need to know?
There was a year that we were at the kickoff tournament, and I won the men's side of the kickoff, and Sue won the women's side of the kickoff at Rec Yo's Bowling Center, and they had us bowl off, and I got thumped.
So you have a 1-0 career record against Jack? Is that what you're telling us?
I do, but we bowled a doubles tournament, a doubles regional a while ago, and
That's a great shot by
was
Bob.
absolutely horrible. And Jack bowled well enough to cover both our scores so we could win.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
I can say that I have a title thanks to his bowling because he bowled for 2.
Well, that's next week's show. We're looking forward to that. Going to be a lot of fun to have Jack. It's always good to watch you bowl. We love having you here on the TV side, but it's going to be better to watch you out there in your natural habitat.
It'll be fun to be on the other side than Mike.
Right.
I think.
I don't want to say this, but when I bowled Bill Truman and lost, it was when there was VHS, and nobody has VHS recorders anymore. You, on the other hand, this is going to be around for a while, so you better not lose.
No promises there.
Bob Senker's on a nice little run of 3 consecutive strikes. Pete Maduri coming off strike, spare. So all of a sudden, Pete's getting pushed a little bit. We want to remind you that even though we are all set with our regular qualifying at Lucky Lanes in Fredonia for next month's shows, this weekend they're actually holding their high school bowling qualifying for our 4th show. So a month into things down in Fredonia. So if you're a high school bowler and you want to try to get in on that, you've got a chance to get there this weekend to qualify for our 4th showdown at Fredonia, and that is next month.
That's a great idea, having a show for the high school kids like that. It's good to keep them active, give them a chance to get some little TV exposure.
Gives you a chance to go down and
scout.
Recruit.
Of course, well, tell everybody, Jack, we talked about this a year ago when we were here, and things are still working their way through for you at Villa Maria.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get enough girls to get started for this current season, but with the girls I have right now and the girls that are projected to come in the fall, it looks like on the female side we should get started without a problem for the 17-18 season. Working on trying to get the men's team developed too. Again, slow process so far. We got a couple guys interested. We're trying to work out some financial aid packages for them to get them involved. But still looking for some men for sure. So if there's any high school seniors out there getting ready to graduate that haven't decided on college, I'll at least take a look at Villa and see if there might be something there.
Yep. And if you want to learn from one of the best in Western New York. All right, so now to this match, Bob Senker has been blowing pins out of the back of the lanes here, but that one was a little bit of a miss, so that ends his run of 3 consecutive strikes. Meanwhile, Pete Maduri has put up 2 consecutive strikes.
I could see that being a common mistake for Bob. Just he's very aggressive, very quick feet. I could see sometimes where he might get just a little too amped up and overthrow it a little bit.
It almost feels like, and there's a
tough
key
spare.
moment right
Tough
there.
spare.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
As we go around to different bowling centers in Western New York, the one thing we've learned is the food is great. We're inside Kegler's at Transit Lanes, and I'm here with the event manager and the chef. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about what you got going on here at Kegler's?
Well, it's an interesting dynamic here. At one point, we have league bowlers, on 48 lanes. We have corporate events in our semi-private room. We have, a meeting room downstairs. There could be a meeting going on, and then we have, kids bowling at the same time. Right now, they're setting up for an event today. It's a gender reveal and a 30th birthday party. So you just never know what to expect here, but it's always a fun time.
So pretty much any event, you guys can cover it.
Exactly.
Awesome. Good to know.
As far as the food, we're trying to change the concept of what people think of when they come to a place like this. We're trying to give people that more homemade, from scratch approach, a fresher approach, a more natural product that people can identify with and more.
Awesome. And that's what I learned. The food's great. We had an awesome lunch here today, and we just want to thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
8th frame here for Pete Maduri. And the 10-pin holds up for Pete. A lot of initial twist as he releases the ball, I'm noticing with Pete. Just style, just, you know.
Yeah, I think you'll see the higher rev guys. There'll be a lot more wrist action compared to old school guys.
Right, because Greg was
right,
much smoother and straighter as he was throwing it.
Today, that's how a lot of the revolutions are created, with a cupping of the wrist and an uncoiling at the release. It's almost like a frisbee toss type release. And that creates extra revolutions.
So Pete breaks out the spare ball here. And he gets
very effective with it.
Yep.
How do they learn that?
That's a good question. You know, when I grew up learning how to hook the ball, we did it in a whole different way with plastic and urethane balls. We used to create revolutions by hitting up on the ball, trying to create the extra revolutions. I think kids just instinctively, you know, it seems to be a natural thing. They gravitate, they see stuff, they watch somebody else on TV, and they seem to be able to just emulate it.
Jack, is that a style that's more recent, or when you were a young 20-something bowling, did all the old guys go, oh, look at these guys, look at the way they throw it, look how strong and powerful they throw it?
It's definitely much different today. I mean, if you look at the number of young kids on the professional tour today, the speed and rev rate they all have it's just remarkable.
Is that because it wasn't taught that way back in your generation, or? I
don't think anybody did it that way. So you know, I mean, you only can kind of go off what you saw. And now, you know, you get a couple guys. Mark Roth was one of the early power guys. Steve Cook on the left side, Marshall Holman. Those were the first guys that really started to create extra revolutions on it, and then it just, from there, just slowly started to grow. You had Kelly Kaufman back in the day when I was out on tour. Jimmy Keith, who's now no longer with us, but he was one of the first high-speed, high-rev guys that I really, when you watch him throw a ball, it was like, wow.
Well, Bob Senker is...
he's not going to go away.
No, not going away at all.
Another strike here is going to force Pete to get a mark in the 10th.
3 consecutive strikes for Bob Senker as he wraps things up here in the 10th.
Quite a debut for himself.
Yes.
Right lane got him just a little bit in the middle of the game.
Yeah, that's not how Bob wanted to finish up.
That's going to make it tough.
So it looks like we're headed towards a victory for Pete Maduri with his 10th frame still to come, but a very nice debut for Bob Senker.
Pete's going to need 8 pins and 2 shots to win this match. I like his chances.
I like his chances too.
So it's 221 on the board for Bob Senker. And here's Pete Maduri to the 10th frame. As you heard Jack say what he needs in order to get a 2nd consecutive win and earn himself a trip to Fredonia in 2 weeks.
I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of Mr. Maduri on Beats Champ. There's a winner.
And he gets 9 pins when he only needed 8, and that's a victory for Maduri. And I think you're right, Jack. You know, again, we saw Pete last month at Kearns Avenue, and a lot of it was he had just moved back to town from Texas and hadn't been in town, so maybe he was off people's radar a little bit. But I think he's got himself back on everybody's radar now.
He won't be fooling anybody anymore.
Right. You know, even though Sue knew of him before he left for Texas, knew what a good bowler he was while he was in town. So Pete Maduri is going to get the victory And again, he will be our week 3 winner here at Transit Lanes, and he will carry over and be our #1 match when he takes on the top qualifier down at Fredonia's Lucky Lanes, and that is coming up in 2 weeks. And a strike to finish it out for Pete Maduri, and a good solid victory for him. All right, well, the next time we see you is next week's show, and you're out there, and we get to talk about everything that you do right or wrong.
We have plenty to talk about, one way or the other, I'm sure.
So
Thank you for having me.
Jack's going to be part of our exhibition in next week's show. He and Bill Truman, Carrie Raxenberger, and Christina Zerbinski. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. We look forward to that, Jack. Thanks for joining us as always. Sue and I will come back and we'll talk with Bob and Pete and wrap up our stay here at Transit Lanes and get you ready for next week when Beat the Champ returns right after this. It's a win for Pete Maduri over Bob Senker, 237 to 223. Not a bad debut for you. How'd you feel?
Yeah, not too bad. You know, the first nerves on that first pull in the first frame. And then after that, I settled down and just kept getting quick on that right lane. And I knew I had to keep it slow, and I just didn't. But Pete's a great bowler, and congrats to him. And best of luck next month.
All right, well, it was a good start to you. Bill, you got a little fur here for Bob.
Hey, Monty, thank you for bowling with us and on the show, and a little something to take home for you. Nice job.
Sue?
Well, welcome home, Pete. I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of you on Beat the Champ.
Yeah, it's great to be home, and looking forward to coming back a few more times, hopefully. And ball reaction was good today, and great match out there.
Well, now you have to take that down to Fredonia and see what you can do down there.
Yeah, that's a far drive, too, but we'll be there.
Yep. And that'll be in 2 weeks because we've got one more week of our stop here at Transit Lanes. We're going to get a little more of this guy. Sue and I will preview that and wrap up our last 3 weeks of competition. When we come back to Transit Lanes, you are watching Beat the Champ. Three really good weeks of competitive bowling here at Transit Lanes. The scores were great. We saw some really good veteran bowlers in our first show, and we see some young up-and-comers here as it moved forward.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I think it was as fun for us to watch as it was for the audience to watch because we didn't know what was going to happen. It was going down to the last frame. Every match was good, but I think we got trouble with Pete. Pete's going to be around for a while.
You said that a month ago that Pete was going to be a bowler to watch, and he has proven that to be true as well, too. We had great crowds here, Janelle. Yep. We had a great lunch here today. Apparently you got some insight into that, too.
Oh, definitely. Like, I learned that bowling alleys are the place to go if you want a great meal. That's what I'm learning throughout this whole experience.
Well, there you go. That's a good lesson to learn. We've got one more week here at Transit Lanes. We're going to have a lot of fun with our exhibition match coming up next week. We mentioned Jack Jurek and Bill Truman, Christina Zerbinski, Carrie Raxenberger. Going to be a lot of fun, a little battle of the sexes, so make sure you're with us when Beat the Champ continues at Transit Lanes next week. We'll see you then.